Today we're going to talk about this guitar, a Fender Jaguar custom shop. Let's get right into it. So the year is 1962, and Leo Fender introduces the Jaguar and the Jazzmaster. It does a short stint, and around 75 it's discontinued. It doesn't show up for another 10, 15 years in some of the surf rockers and indie rockers, grunge rockers, the Kurt Cobains and Sonic Youths. With that being said, it is rather interesting that the Jaguar doesn't get nearly as much attention as its brothers or counterparts does. Stratocaster leading, the 50s and rock and roll culture ever since, and the Telecaster standing on its own. Jazzmasters is kind of in a league of its own, kind of like its own thing. But then you have the Jaguar and the Mustangs that are rather forgotten about in early years, and in later years have found their way back in the hands of the youth. So it's no coincidence that I find myself with this guitar. This is a rather interesting piece, really special for me. I've been through classic players, other made in Japan models. Obviously the custom shops, the bee's knees, clearly. But I think I had the American Professional model mixed with some Johnny Marr parts, and that was amazing. It was still missing something that this has. So as a guitar player, I know not everyone can afford $4,500, $5,000, and master build prices. Forget it. I do get it. But if you are able to spend the extra money, this is not a sleeper. It's not as brittle. It is not as inconsistent with the tuning as a lot of the Jaguar models are. It also has this really sweet bridge, this RSD bridge there. Amazing. The stability on this thing is second to none. So I definitely think, again, if you're in the ballpark, try it. Try to get one, finance it, whatever. Do what you got to do. Great instruments. Fender really does not cut corners on the custom shops. Now I do hear some disparities. Some people do say, hey, some of the custom shops aren't so great, or some of my Americans are better. Have you tried enough custom shops yet? Because it could just not be for you, given that it is a custom shop. Someone could have bought it for them, their specifications, their neck radius. This is a 9.5, and I think it's very comfortable. I have small hands, and I have no problem. So that being said, if you have the money, do it. If you don't, I get it. Before we do some tone tests, I'll explain what the switches on the Jaguar do. If we start here, this is our rhythm switch, okay? Rhythm section, rhythm pickup. When you're in this pickup, only this volume and this tone work. The rest is bypassed, okay? When you hit the bridge switch down, it activates this pickup. However, you can still add your neck pickup in on the bottom. You have a three-way selector here, this being a strangle switch, okay? So you can either take some low and out or add some low and end, okay? This would be now your bridge pickup, and this is your neck pickup. When they're all disengaged, there's no sound from the guitar. Rather interesting. But this is now your master volume and your master tone. This, again, is disengaged. Once again, when it's up, volume and tones up here, down, volume and tones down there. So you really can have your own configuration set up the entire time. It's very nice. Talking about that clean tone, I normally tend to have a little bit of overdrive, and there's something really interesting about this guitar. It kind of has a natural distortion, if you will. Even when it's clean and you're just strumming, there's this grit that comes through, and I think that's something that's really interesting for the Jaguars, and it's really underrated. So I've been really trying to integrate that into this clean tone, if you will. It's rather interesting. Do I think it's a Swiss Army knife of guitars? I don't. I definitely don't. I'm not sure if there really is one. Maybe the Stratocaster, but the Jaguar isn't that. The Jaguar feels weirdly enough like a Les Paul to me, because my neck is again 9.5 radius, it's a little bigger. But it's a short scale guitar, so I navigate it easier than the Strats and the Telecasters for that matter, and the Jazzmasters for that matter. I used to have this custom shop ES339. Shout out to Ben. I'm glad you have it back. But I used to have that guitar, and that was really easy to play. That was like, man, playing Gibson's version of a Mustang. The neck was just so small, and I don't know if it was, you know, running one in a million. I really don't know, but wonderful guitar. Back to the mission, right? So the interesting thing is that with dirt and with gain, and they're stacked and distortion comes in, this guitar really comes alive rather. Normally Jaguars, for me in my experience, don't really tend to hold the low end really well when distortion comes in, or they're too whiny, or you have to do a lot of EQing to make them, if you will, or you have to put a humbucker in. You know, I think Kirk was maybe did the same thing. 2 humbuckers. I didn't want to do that with this model. I wanted to do something where I kept the integrity of the guitar in single coils, and I would push the coils. So I'm not sure if you can hear it as well as possible in some of the demos that we recorded for you, but I'm really trying to keep it natural without having the distortion too much to control. I mean, distortion can get kind of strange for some single coils, excuse me. So again, I don't think it's a guitar for everyone. I think if you are daring enough and willing to play and learn to play on something new, something a little quirky, something a little different, but it gets the job done, but it might not be the most traditional job, then this is the guitar for you. Well, that's going to do it for us today, guys. I'm Pat the Riffer, your host, and on this channel, we talk about everything that is music. Please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.